Master gardener Paul Marmora has been cultivating his garden over 22 years. When he first moved in, there was one 8x8 garden surrounded by concrete blocks. Otherwise, the yard was flat and boring. It is anything but boring now. His goal is a natural look.
And I liked rambling. I like nature. I like looking wild. I don't like it manicured. I've never liked manicure. So I wanted a rough and tumble and,
Native campanula, hosta, and columbine spill over garden beds. Paul's gardening design is instinctive.
I have a kind of a natural eye for stuff. I don't consciously think of it, but it works. Like with my floral design, I always think I should put this, this, and this, but I just gravitate on it. So, no-ish. So I made this little kind of canyon, and I got to get these ferns out. They're just too big. It's so pretty too, though.
The fern bed originally held a water feature. He has an unusual collection of lilac. Different leaf sizes, tree sizes, and aromas complement each other.
This one's very sweet smelling. It also has a hairy leaf versus these leathery leaves or these heart-shaped leaves. So when the Advanced Master Gardener class with Julie, she was fascinated by this one because it was so different. I don't remember what the name of it is, but it's got a real interesting leaf. Very, very, very sweet fragrance. And I got another one here, the dwarf Korean. So I like this area because I've got 4 different kinds of lilacs in a row, I love the dwarf Korean too. That's just such a pretty one.
Pollinators abound in gardens with masses of flowers like these lilacs, and the pollinators also like all the varieties found in his garden.
This is one of my favorites. This is actually a Trolleus, a Trollium pumilum. And it's just such a cute little thing. These are the leaves. And it never gets more than like 5-6 inches tall. So that's kind of a neat one.
Different varieties of lilacs either seed themselves or send out suckers in the garden that Paul pots up for his nursery. Paul claims not to have planted any of the myriad of colors of columbines in his garden. He says there were a few in when he purchased the property, but many have been stowaways and other plants. Early beds he created in the front were too wide, and being at ground level, Paul didn't enjoy bending over to work in them. He wanted to build rock gardens so they would be raised and easier to work on.
And I've got the orange Lilium pumilum in front, which I just adore.
He built the big mound in front, but even though he sized it, he didn't realize how wide it would be, and he has to climb up on it to work in the center.
So I decided I wanted to make rock gardens. I didn't want to have to bend over. So my big mistake was I didn't think about how wide this thing is, so I get up on top, I still have to bend.
When he was planning it to determine the size of the mound, he used a tool every homeowner should have. Paul drug out a garden hose to outline a shape.
I love these little folliculums because but look at that, it's just that lacy thing in front of that. Anyway, so I took a hose and laid out the hose to see kind of the shape that I wanted. Then I cut in with a shovel around the hose and then cut back about 18 inches and pulled all the sod off. Then I laid cardboard down, unglazed cardboard. I got a bunch of rocks and they're blowing up bird down there. So I ordered a truckload and had them brought over here. And then I built a bit of a wall, probably about like a foot and a half or 2 feet high around the whole thing. When it was all settled, I started putting the top rocks in, which is very similar to what we're doing at AWCC. Oh, this is all that hosta. See it all through here and here? Isn't it pretty?
Paul said this hosta is about 20 years old.
And over the years, I've been learning how to take back what I don't want.
Paul has collected native plants from right-of-ways being cleared and traded with fellow gardeners. Native lupine, blueberry, anemone, pasqueflower, pussy toes, campanula, willows, and juniper can be found on the big mound. This willow rotundifolia he received from Verna Pratt.
And one thing I love is this dwarf ground cherry. It's just, but this is old. This is like 20 some odd years now, and it just hugs the ground.
The bed features some other interesting plants, such as a northern climate azalea that is 7 to 8 years old and Paul said bloomed its best this year. Creeping thyme and creeping veronica will soon blanket portions of the mound in bright pink and purple. The anemone sylvestris blooms for weeks and weeks. The backside of the mound flows into a shade garden under 3 spruce trees. When he first moved in this house, one of the trees was only 12 feet tall. Sadly, the spruce bark beetle have spread through the Anchorage bowl in the recent years, and Paul's trees have fallen victim. The trees will be used for projects by a neighborhood scout troop, so they will live on. The dynamics of his garden will change drastically, but ever the experimenter, Paul has been readying hemlocks for this day. He said even Verna was impressed he was able to get them to grow so tall.
Lily of the Valley from New York. One of my earliest memories is having Lily of the Valley as a kid. My mother sent me 2 patches and filled in here.
For a retired person, Paul is anything but still. He spends time every day in his garden, running his nursery, teaching sign language, works at and teaches floral arrangement, is a member of the Orchid Society, Rock Garden Society, serves as president of the Bonsai Study Group, and as co-president of the Wildflower Garden Club. In a normal year, Paul would be preparing for the state fair as well. Through it all, Paul reminds us it's an experiment. It's all living and growing.